Okay, so we're still on Learn Python 3, and the current module is Control Flow. Let's click Resume. So sales shipping, we put some code of our own in place, and last time we were just exploring some of these features. So we have this for loop for, let's call it option and price, because that's a good explanation of the keys and the values in this dictionary. Ground shipping could be the option, and then that's the price. So for option, comma, price in, and then you have to do the name of the dictionary dot items colon. So shipping options dot items. Just get that in your head. For loop, we do shipping options dot items. However, I believe that it's actually going to break it down for us. So we click start. Task 1. So what shall I do? I'll paste what I've got here in Notepad, and we'll compare it to what we've got. So this is the s3cp command. Copy path. So when you're changing path, so you can take a file from your local machine and then paste it at an S3 address. So I'm going to paste my code into this Notepad document. As you can see, we did we had a variable declared here, weight in pounds, and we used the float function. And inside the float function, we had the input function provide the weight of your package. So the input function sort of wrapped in the float function. And then we had this block of code where what we were doing was calculating the ground shipping price. And ground shipping is just one of the price classes, remember. So we said if the weight in pounds, so the variable up here, is less than or equal to 2, well then the ground shipping price, well, we'll assign to that whatever the weight in pounds is multiplied by 1.50 plus 20, because remember we have that what was called a flat charge. And then as we moved up, it may be that the weight of your package that you want to send is not just is not less than or greater than 2, but it is less than or greater than 6, and we use this else if. And the reason we're using else if is if this was an if statement here, then it would actually cover the situations where your weight is less than 2 pounds, because if a weight is less than 2 pounds, it's also less than 6 pounds. But we kind of want to section off these ones. And so what we really mean here is if it's less than 6 pounds and greater than 2 pounds, that's what we really mean, and that's why we use else if. Well, in that case, it'll actually be 3 multiplied by every pound of weight that we have, and then add the flat charge of 20. Else if the weight in pounds is less than or equal to 10. The ground shipping price will assign to ground shipping price. So each time we're assigning to ground shipping price in all of these possibilities, we're obviously not doing it multiple times. Only one of these blocks will be that one, or that one will be settled upon. So, but each time in each possibility we're assigning to ground shipping price. So assignment operator, but this time weight in pounds multiplied by 4 plus 20. And then we calculate the ground shipping premium price. That's a completely different shipping band. Ground shipping premium price, well, that's always 125. So we just assign to it 125, and then calculate the drone shipping price. And we do a similar thing for the shipping for the ground shipping price. We say if it's less than or equal to 2, then we'll assign to it weight in pounds multiplied by 4.50. If it's just less than or equal to 6, see there, we'll do it multiplied by 9, multiplied by 12, multiplied by 14.25. Then we assign to the variable shipping options using the assignment operator a dictionary. And then what we're doing is the values of the keys in the dictionary are the variables that we've been mentioning earlier. So ground shipping price, ground shipping premium price, and drone shipping price. So I'm going to remove that. First things first, define a weight variable and set it equal to any number. Okay, weight equals 4. Tick. Next, we need to know how much it costs to ship a package of given weight by normal ground shipping based on the ground shipping table above. Write a comment that says ground shipping. Done. Or ground. Capital G, capital S for shipping. Create an if, elif, else statement for the cost of ground shipping. It should check for weight and print the cost of shipping a package of that weight. So yeah, we've already done this. Let's see if we can do it again. If, because it's about practicing, if weight is greater than or equal to, is that right? 2? Well, no, less than or equal to 2. What if it's 1.5 pounds? Less than or equal to 2, then, that's what the colon essentially means, then the ground shipping price, but I think it wants us to use the cost word, just the word cost. So cost will assign to cost weight I can't remember what, multiplied by the asterisk. What was the charge? So this is drone shipping. Make sure you're reading the right shipping band. That's drone shipping. That's ground shipping premium. This is ground shipping. 1.50. Weight multiplied by 1.50. Try and remember that. And then the flat charge is $20 US. So the cost is going to be equal to whatever you've said for weight. In this case, we've set it to 4, multiplied by 1.50 plus 20. Okay, see that? Have we forgotten anything? I don't think so. This is a relational operator. This is what we call a relational operator. Less than or equal to. We don't need to worry about using equals as opposed to the assignment operator, which is a mistake many people make. And let's just fill out the rest of it. Else if. So we could just do if weight is less than 6. Sorry, less than or equal to 6. And carry on like that. But we don't want to, because we don't want to just independently take these categories. So we do else if. Else if the weight is less than 6. Okay, so we're not actually just saying, okay, this line's interested in weights which are less than or equal to 6. That's not actually what this line is doing. We're saying else, meaning take into account that line. Presuming you've established that it isn't less than or equal to 2, well, okay, is it less than or equal to 6? That's what we're saying with else if. It's kind of contextual, the else if. We've got conditions that are sequentially checked. Well, in that case, cost is going to be equal to weight multiplied by, what, £2.50 or £2.50? Again, pay attention. That is drone shipping. Don't look at that table. Okay, £3, so it doubles. So £1.50 to £3. So weight multiplied by 3.00 plus 20. I think if we check. Yeah. Flat charge for ground shipping is 20, 20, 20, 20. So that's that line done. I can just leave that there. Just by going to the next line and removing the indentation, it's clear to Python that I've finished setting out the consequent. I've finished setting out the thing that I do if the weight is less than or equal to 6. else if weight is less than or equal to £10, colon, what I'm going to do is say, well then the cost is going to have assigned to it, the cost is going to have assigned to it weight multiplied by 4. So it doesn't double again, it goes from 1.50 to 3, but then it just goes to 4. That's a little bit nicer. Plus 20. I mean, I'm surprised that, you know, in some situations you pay the more. I suppose it wouldn't work with weight, but I was just going to say in some situations when you bulk buy, you get discounts, not charging more. But anyway, and finally, else, because this is the final one, else weight is, so I've look at the detail, I've actually accounted for the situation in which the weight is exactly 10. So I need to account for the situation in which it's more than 10. So I can just put else weight is actually more than 10 and not 10 itself. If the weight is more than 10, then, then the colon, then, don't forget the then cost is going to be equal to the weight multiplied by 4.75 plus 20. And I can use else here because I'm happy for that to cover everything. I mean, all other numbers are bigger than 10. You know, the numbers left over after we've accounted for the numbers here, or the weights here, are the numbers bigger than 10. I'm sure, I know there's negative numbers, but yeah. So this really is else because it just is a catch-all condition. So write a comment that says ground shipping, create an if else statement for the cost of ground shipping. It should check for weight. So these lines are checking for weight. It's a bit of a funny way of putting it. They're not doing anything active. They're not really checking for weight. But I suppose it's as if they are, because we're just saying, you know, if the weight is this, if the weight is this, if the weight is this, if the weight is this. This is the antecedent. So we have the antecedent and then the consequent, in a way. Yeah, the antecedent and the consequent. Ante meaning before. So we check if this is a truth. Is it true that the weight is less than 10? And in that sense, we are checking for weight. That's just the way they like to express it in the Code Academy instructions. I might even make it even more clear and just put some spacing between that, because we've basically got 4 distinct logical possibilities that we're accounting for, and so we have 4 blocks. I'm going to just save. So here it says file, and then we have a path, /home, /cc user, workspace, learn Python control flow self shipping, /shipping.py, so that's the file that we're working with, and it has a problem with line 13. And it says syntax error, expected colon. Well, I have got a colon there. Else weight is greater than 10. I've spelt weight correctly. Right, this is a really good point. Okay. I have made a mistake there. Okay, so when you use else, you shouldn't be giving a condition. You shouldn't be saying anything. Because you kind of don't need to. Right, we've used these blocks to kind of press down with our cylindrical metal cookie cutter. In other words, we've used these blocks to carve out a subset of the dough, where dough is just all possibilities for the weight. because this is not all the possibilities, and then there's some left over. In other words, the situation where the weight is greater than 10, because we've said, what if it's less than 2? What if it's smaller than 6 and bigger than 2? What if it's smaller than 10 or equal to 10? But we've left all the numbers bigger than 10. Now, the point of this syntax is you don't need to say, else the weight is bigger than 10. We know that. You don't have to state that. You just say else. So whenever you put else, you don't then add something on. It goes unsaid what everything else, all the else, it goes unsaid that else deals with everything else. You don't have to say what everything else is in this situation. Weight is bigger than 10. That's sloppy. Or it's just not the way we do it. So what instead I'll do is say else if weight is less than, or if weight is bigger than 10, I do want you to do something. I want you to say, okay, the cost is equal to weight multiplied by 4.75 plus 20. So that's fine. You can do elif and then talk about, and don't forget the then. But the else, if you are going to have an else, which you should have, I think generally, you don't put the colon and the condition. You just say else print error or something like that. That's a better practice. Oh, but you do provide a colon. Okay. There we go. So you do provide the colon, but you don't provide text that, you don't provide characters that sort of explicitly characterize the remaining logical possibilities. You just say else, and it goes unsaid that else deals with the remaining logical possibilities. Cool. A package that weighs 8.4 pounds should cost £53. So think about that. It's less than 10, so that's fitting in quite nicely here. If the weight is less than or equal to 10, then we do 4 for every pound plus 20. So a package that weighs 8.4 pounds should cost £53.60 to ship with normal ground shipping. And they do a little calculation. 8.4 pounds multiplied by 4 plus 20 is equal to $53.60. Test that your ground shipping calculation gets the same value. So what we can do to test is change weight from being equal to 4 to being equal to 8.4. And then print cost, or rather, no, print a string saying your cost will be, no, your cost for your, and then your cost for your package, which weighs, and then I'm going to use the plus to get in the weight. So that will say 8.4 in this situation, but it will just grab whatever value the weights variable has. So your cost for your package, which weighs pounds, is, so back to the string and then back to a variable. I'm going to concatenate that string, pounds is, with a variable, and that's going to be weight, which should have been updated. Make sure I've spelt them all correctly. Weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, 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 okay, which should have been updated. So let's try that. Oh, what have we done? Print. Why can't I print that? I forgot a plus here. Nope. Ah, okay. Line 19 in the module, you can only concatenate string, not float. Okay, so weight is a float. So can I just convert that to a string? Can I just convert weight to a string? Do the string function. So stringify the weight. Oh, and also you should be printing the cost here. But anyway, that cost will also be, oh, gosh, a string. Can you just do that? Great. And put a space there. So your cost for your package, which weighs 8.4 pounds, which it does, I've put in 8.4 here, is 53.6, and I can even make it so that it's got a US dollar before, oh no, before the value to be printed. So yeah, your cost for your package, which weighs 8.4 pounds, is 53.6 pence, and that's what it should be, 53.60. Now I want to correct this problem. It says 53.6, but we want prices to be displayed with 2 digits after the point. Now we know how to do this. After the variable, I can say colon, which is a special character, dot 2 f's. I don't give 2 flying. Okay, no. Doesn't work. No. Okay. I thought you could do that because cost is a floating point. I thought we could just do cost, and after the variable name do colon dot 2f, and that means give me 2 digits after the for the floating point. But why can't I do that? Hello, I'm trying to print a price in Python. I want there to be 2 digits after the decimal point. As people conventionally want prices to have 2 digits after the decimal point. I believe I've seen a way to do this before. You put a colon after the name of the variable, and then dot 2f, which specifies that the floating point number should have 2 digits after the point. However, my code is not working. Can I show you my code so that you can investigate? Yes, please share your code and I'll help you identify the issue. The syntax you're describing with colon dot 2f is typically used in formatted strings in Python. Well, here's my code. The issue in your code lies in how you're trying to format cost using colon dot 2f. The colon dot 2f is not directly usable inside a string conversion. You should instead use an f string or the dot format method for proper formatting. What does that mean? It is a corrected version of your code. Right, so the fact that we are using... Right, okay. So I never thought about these as 2 different ways at the same problem. I knew about f strings, I knew about concatenation, but I never thought of them as alternatives. So my code, I said print bit of a string, then the plus, then we stringify a variable which has a numeric value. Then we kind of tack on another bit of string, and then I try to stringify cost. But actually, the solution here is we make the whole thing a string, and instead we use an F string. So we just stick an F before the opening speech marks. Your cost for your package, which weighs weight pounds, and we put that in curly brackets. So we use curly brackets in the string. We don't concatenate. It is still the name of a variable, but we're not just laying the variable name bare. It's inside the speech marks, which weighs weight pounds is, and then US dollar. Oh no, so is $US dollar, which is part of the string. And then we do cost :.2f. So if we go back and correct that. So the price for your package, which is a better way of putting it, the price for your package which weighs so we put an F on the outside, which weighs, and then we grow and grab weight, which weighs weight pounds is, and then US dollar cost.2f, just like that. We don't need to stringify weight, we don't need pounds, we don't need any of that, but we do need that colon. So done. Ground shipping premium. We'll also need to make sure we include the price of premium ground shipping in our code. Create a variable for the cost of premium ground shipping. Note, this does not need to be an if statement because the price of premium ground shipping does not change with the weight of the package. And this is a strange one. It's not the drone table, don't look at that. It just says flat charge 125. So cost equals, and we'll assign to it 125.00 because we're doing a price. No. Yeah, that's fine. But do you see what's happened now? That print function, of course, uses the latest value for the cost variable. And so it bypasses all of this logic and goes just to cost equals 125. So we're assuming essentially that they are paying for premium ground shipping. That's okay for now, because this print function was just a temporary way to check that the logic was right. Now in my original code, I actually didn't just call this cost, but I called it ground shipping cost. And then I would call this premium shipping cost, or premium ground shipping cost. Print it out for the user, just in case they forgot. Okay, go on then. We'll call this premium cost. And then we'll have a print function that says the cost for string, the price for premium ground shipping is, and let's make it an F string. Let's get in the habit of not using concatenation, even though that's what Code Academy taught us. The price for premium ground shipping is, and then we're going to grab in premium cost. And then even do just .2f as a good habit. And we can change that now from saying the price for your package to the ground shipping price for your package, and be a bit more specific about it. And this one could be the premium ground ship. This string could be the premium ground shipping price for your package is. Drone shipping. Now the strange one. Write a comment for this section of code, drone shipping. So a comment, capital D, capital S. Create an if-else statement for the cost of drone shipping. This statement should check against weight and print the cost of shipping a package of that weight. So we're going to say this section is called drone shipping. If, and now I need the table. And again, we want to use that weight variable that we should have got user input on. So if weight is £2 or less, so less than or equal to 2, then the cost is going to be equal to weight multiplied by £4.50, and there's no flat charge. Else if weight is less than or equal to else if weight is greater than 2 and weight is less than or equal to 6, then the cost will be equal to weight multiplied by 9, and there's no flat charge. Else if weight is greater than 6 and less than or equal to, and weight is less than or equal to 10, then cost is going to be equal to weight multiplied by 12. Else if weight is greater than 10, don't forget the colon. Else if the weight is greater than 10, cost is equal to weight multiplied by 14.25. And we're going to then do an else, print error, just something like that. Okay. Right. A package that weighs 1.5 pounds should cost £6.675 to ship by drone. Test that your drone shipping calculation gets the same value. So yeah, we could do so let's move that to up here. So we have premium ground shipping and then a kind of test statement. Ground shipping and then a tester statement, and we're going to do the same thing here. After this logic, we can say print the price for drone shipping will be, make it an F string, the price for drone shipping will be, and then we'll get in cost, will be cost. And you know, that should be okay because we happen to have put drone shipping last. Do you see what I mean? So it's the last to update anyway. I know we've used the cost variable in the other things, so the thought is, well, here we've got cost. You can't just use cost because we've used cost for the calculating the ground shipping. Yes, but it's later down in the code. So if we say weight is equal to 1.5, then it will run through this and cost will have been appropriately updated, and we can do dot colon dot 2f. There we go. The price for drone shipping will be £6.75. And that is correct, as it happens. The premium ground shipping will be £125. That isn't quite true, because that's for £8.4. So that's for a different value assigned to weight, but hey-ho. Solution, great job. Now test everything one more time. What is the cheapest method of shipping a 4.8 pound package, and how much would it cost? Yeah. So here's the problem. If I put in at the top here weight 41.5 and save, I need to remove this one above drone shipping. Is that right? So yeah, I think that's right actually. The key point is this: we have weight that's set with a value here, 41.5, and that weight variable doesn't actually get changed in this ground shipping logic. We change cost, or these are all possibility blocks. So we settle on one of these blocks and then we update the cost variable. So we'll say cost is going to be, we're going to assign to cost weight multiplied by dir. But we don't actually change weight itself. We're saying if the weight is smaller than 2, if the weight is this. So these are talking about what's already the case. We're not talking about actually changing the value of the weight variable. So it kind of carries through to here. So the weight will still be whatever you've set it as up here, 41.5, and it will still be that 41.5 throughout this logic, which is the logic for drone shipping. So we're saying if weight is less than or equal to 2, if weight is greater than 2 and weight isn't. So yeah, that will B. That's fine. You might think, well, this pulls in cost, or rather this pulls in cost, and that cost that it pulls in will be different from the cost that it pulls in down here, but that's fine. That's what we want. As we said, cost will have been assigned a value in one of these possibility blocks, and we want to print that, or we print that. Yes, it's true, we then change it. We then say, okay, let's work it out for drone shipping. But the good thing is we don't work out the value for drone shipping and then retrospectively go and insert that as the value of cost here. You know, that's printed now. So it's a good thing that the program works through our code in the order we've written it. It's not like everywhere that code appears, that the variable appears in the code sort of instantaneously gets updated throughout the past and throughout the future, if that makes sense, or earlier parts of the document and later parts of the document. The document is read through, and if you do a print function here that takes into account cost, we do it for whatever we know cost to be based on the prior logic, not the entire logic. Okay, we print cost based on what we know cost to be, the cost variable to be, based on the prior logic, not the entire logic. I like that. So that's good. We've got this nice text. If I wanted a line break between them, what I could do is put, before the premium, I could put inside the text, remember, \n. Let's see if that works. Perfect. And \n here. So you can see drone shipping will be very expensive. Don't forget to check off all the tasks before moving on. And here are some sample solutions, shipping.py. So let's take a look at this. I don't really understand that line. I didn't know you could do it like that and just have two arguments to the print function. What they have done is they have used distinct variable names. So they've not just called it cost, but cost drone, and that ensures that that is a different variable to cost ground. What I did was just use cost, so cost in the ground shipping block, and also use just the word cost in the drone shipping block. But I think that's okay. Do you think it's okay that in this code I use the same variable name, namely cost, when calculating the ground shipping price and the drone shipping price? Using the same variable name for different calculations can lead to confusion and potential errors, especially in larger or more complex programs. While Python allows variable reuse, it's generally better to use distinct descriptive variable names for clarity and to avoid unintended overwriting of values. And they say here's how you could improve your code with more descriptive variable names. The benefits of using distinct variable names are that it's immediately clear which variable corresponds to which shipping method. We prevent accidentally using the wrong value if logic becomes more complex. and it's easy to expand and debug the code. But isn't an advantage of using... But isn't it also true that where there is one entity, we shouldn't needlessly create multiple entities? If my code will run fine using cost throughout, then we should use cost throughout. To avoid using the same word, cost, throughout, it's not that funny, throughout would actually betray a misunderstanding of how the logic of the program works. You know, it's more elegant in a way to use one variable name. You make a valid philosophical point rooted in the principle of parsimony, avoiding unnecessary proliferation of entities where one will suffice. If the logic of your program ensures that cost is only ever assigned a single meaningful value at any given time, then reusing the variable name is indeed practical and elegant. This approach reflects an understanding of the sequential nature of your program. Here's why your reasoning holds. At any point in your program, cost represents the shipping cost for one specific method: ground, premium, drone. You are not storing multiple costs simultaneously, so reusing cost does not create ambiguity. If the reader understands the flow of your program, the meaning of cost is clear because it's scoped by the section, e.g. ground shipping, drone shipping. Introducing multiple variable names when a single one suffices can clutter your code and make it less elegant. So that's my reasoning. However, there are still trade-offs to consider. If your program grows, or if sections are extracted into separate functions, a single cost variable might cause confusion, particularly for new readers of your code. Distinct variable names can make it easier to pinpoint which cost is being referenced in case of errors or logs. A balanced approach. To keep your code simple but still robust, you might consider segmenting logic into functions. This allows the reuse of cost while keeping its meaning clear in each context. For example, instead of just saying comment calculate ground or comment ground shipping, and we have the if, elif, and else logic, we can actually say def, and then we're defining a function called calculate ground shipping. That's the name of our function, and what we put in is the weight. So that's, and when we say what arguments our function will need, we put it in rounded brackets. So we say weight in rounded brackets, and then the rest is the same. But we have this line here, which is return, the return of the king. Whenever you have a function, you need a line that says return, and what we're going to return is the cost. So it's just making, with a function, we have to just think about what's being put in, what are we getting out. And then we kind of have an area where we work, so by defining functions, it's all abstracted away, and then we can say in this block weight, we'll assign to that 41.5 in this situation. The ground shipping cost will be equal to that function applied to weight. The drone shipping cost will be applied, we'll assign the drone shipping cost. We will assign to that the function on weight, and the premium, the calculate drone shipping function on weight, and the premium shipping cost will assign to that. and then we have 3 print statements. So the moral is, so the question is, how do we start thinking like that? Well, we have to start thinking, okay, when we're using these if, else, elif statements, or rather if, elif, else statements, those structures, start thinking, okay, can I make this a function? Could I just package that up as a function and then call the function? That's how you should be thinking. You should automatically be, you shouldn't have to be told that. You should start saying, okay, can I use it, put it in a function? Same with other things you should be thinking about. Can I put a comment to explain what this code is doing? You should be doing that yourself now. Okay. And quickly, I just want to point out what they've done here. They use the print function, but they have 2 arguments in the print function. So Codecademy usually shows a recommended solution at the end of each exercise. There's one line in Codecademy's solution which I want to ask you about, and it's this line. So, does the print function take 2 arguments? And is it the case that the first argument is the string to print, and the second argument is the variable to paste in? And finally, how would a person come to know this? How does a person actually come to know that print takes 2 arguments? More generally, how do people come to know the rules about how Python functions work? Yes, the print function can actually take multiple arguments. It's not just put in a string or put in concatenation, but it can take multiple arguments separated by commas. So they did print ground shipping space dollar, because they're printing a price, and then they did comma, so they're finished with the string, and then they just put cost ground, the variable name. So string, comma, variable. Here's how the print function works. The print function accepts multiple arguments which are separated by commas. It will print each argument in order, with a space between them by default. The first argument here is the string, ground shipping space dollar. The second argument is the variable cost ground, and the output will look like this. It will just be ground shipping dollar, and then it will have 42.50, which is the value assigned to cost ground. So yeah, like you think, it's just as you think, really. It's intuitive. If the arguments are not strings, say a number, print automatically converts them to strings before printing. So the print function has what we call automatic string conversion, meaning it automatically converts the arguments to strings. We have a default separator. By default, print uses a space as a separator between arguments. This behavior can be customized with the sep parameter. How does a person come to know this? Well, the official Python documentation is the definitive source. It describes print, indeed the print function, written print with rounded brackets, emptied out, print bracket bracket. It describes that print bracket bracket, that print function in detail, including its parameters like sep, end, and file. So you might have print, and then in the rounded brackets we say hello, comma, world, comma, where hello is in speech marks, world is in speech marks. So world, comma, and then sep equals, and then we've put a comma space in speech marks. The output of that function would be hello, comma, world, why? Why is it printed the comma? I thought that if we've said separator equals comma, why is it printed the comma? I'm actually just going to ask that straight away. If the separator has been specified as a comma, why is a comma printed? Well, when you specify separator equals comma in speech marks, you're defining the string that will appear between the arguments passed to print. So in your example, we had hello in speech marks, comma, world in speech marks, comma, sep equals that. The arguments are hello and world. The separator is set to the string which is a comma. So the output will be hello world. Why does a comma appear in the output though? Well, the comma is part of the separator string that you explicitly provided. It is not automatically generated by Python, it is simply being inserted as specified. If you had written hello, comma, world, and then separator equals dash dash dash, the output would be hello, dash dash dash, world. The key is that the value of sep defines exactly what is inserted between the arguments. Right, so that's what it does. It's what gets inserted. The default separator is a single space, but you can customize it to include anything, such as a comma, a dash, or even a longer phrase. Okay, so the sep parameter in the print function is something you want to put into the output. It's not, I think this is what you thought. You thought it was about what separator do we use to separate the different inputs. You know, but it's not. We're still, you see here, we say sep equals dash dash dash, and you put dash 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 in speech marks. What we're not saying there is, okay, I want you to separate hello and world when you put these arguments into the function, when you feed them in, you're going to put a dash 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 between them. No, that's not what we're saying. You still put hello, comma, world. What we're saying is we'll put a dash 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 in the output. But back to our question, which was how does a person come to know this about the print function? Well, the official Python documentation is the definitive source, and it describes the print function in detail, including that sep parameter and the end parameter and the file parameter. And beginners tutorials like Code Academy, they often introduce the print function quite early, showing basic usage first and then gradually exploring more advanced features. But video tutorials, books, or websites like W3 Schools also provide explanations with examples. Many learners discover features by experimenting with code and observing the behavior of functions. For example, someone might try print and they'd put in value colon in speech marks and then comma 42, and then they'd realise that print can take multiple arguments. Q&A platforms like Stack Overflow or Python forums often explain how these common functions work. And error messages. When people use print incorrectly, Python will often provide an error message that guides them toward correct usage. How do people learn rules about Python functions in general? Well, again, Python has extensive and well-written documentation for all its built-in functions, modules, and libraries. But you can also do help, and then in brackets put print. The help function in Python provides a quick way to learn about functions. Online tutorials. Platforms like Code Academy, Free Code Camp, or Real Python guide learners through the syntax and the rules of Python functions. Trial and error may be at play. Many learners adopt a hands-on approach, writing small programs to test their understanding. Okay,